Just hold on. Setting muting. All right, here we go. All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Just Chat podcast. I'm your host, Uncle Dominic. In this episode, we will discuss about a father's letter to his kids, the 9 money and life lessons most people learn too late in life. Okay. And here with us today is our co-host, Uncle Shannon. Let me introduce him to the stream. Hello, Uncle Shannon.
Hey everyone. Hi Uncle Dom. How are you?
How are you? I'm great over here. Um, Uncle Shannon is actually in Australia right now. It's actually 11 p.m. Am I right?
It is 11 p.m. where I'm in Brisbane. I'm a little bit tired, so I apologize in advance if I say anything a little bit weird or I mumble my words. But calling me uncle is actually very appropriate. I actually should be called great uncle. My niece just gave birth yesterday, so very exciting times. So,
I see that we have reached that age of great uncles, right? Soon you'll be a great grand uncle and stuff like that, right?
gray hairs everywhere now. So yeah.
Look at my hair, it's everywhere. So, well, in short, how do you feel about being a great uncle? Like, does it
Uh,
make a difference in your life?
well, no, like because my niece, she's actually closer to age in me than what her mother is. My
Uh-huh.
oldest. So I used to actually babysit her and her siblings when they were little kids. So it's good. I'm very happy to see that they've fully grown up and now have their own kids, and I have my own daughter as well. So no, it's awesome, which is very fitting for what we're talking about today as well. So yeah.
Excellent, that's nice. Well, could you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background?
Sure. My name's Shannon, or Uncle Shannon, as you said, and I work in property management, managing shopping centres, and I have a daughter. Like that, she's 12 years old. She's great. Her name's Isabella, and we spend a lot of time together. We do lots of things together, and she is getting older and becoming a bit of a teenager, which is also a great stage for me to see her develop and grow as well. So
How old is she, by the way?
she's 12 years old.
12. All right. I have a teenager. I think I have two teenagers too. So I have two teenagers. Wow. It's
Oh,
crazy. Crazy.
you for advice, Uncle Dominic.
All right. So, well, let's get straight to it and do not waste too much time. Our audience will start screaming. Yay. Okay. So let's add to the stream. All right. Today's topic, of course, it's about a father's letter to his kid, the 9 money and life lessons most people learn too late in life. Shannon, I feel like sometimes when we get our age, we feel like, oh, there's something I should have learned this way before. Do you feel that way?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think, not to spoil the ending, but the guy who writes this, who's a professional in the field, he pretty much writes this for that very reason. And I know like everyone's different. There's a great book about finances called Good Dad, Bad Dad, which teaches people about finance and investing. And it sort of just goes along like you
Is
can.
it rich dad, bad dad, or what was
Oh
it?
yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yes.
Yeah, I was like a good
Sorry,
dad,
sorry.
bad. Oh, no, no.
Like, yeah, so and it just goes like everyone gets different training, everyone has different backgrounds, everyone's parents like generally teach them the best that they can, but we can only teach our kids on what we know. So the more knowledge we can gather, we can pass on and help ourselves and help our families as well.
Right, that's great. But sometimes, there's this thing about regrets. Like we don't want to have regrets in life. But
Mm.
when this kind of thing comes up, it makes us think about the things that we have done in our family or in our relationships and feel like, oh, I should have done this. or at the same time, why I didn't learn this. I should have learned this way earlier, right?
Mm.
So,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So for me, I've always seen regret because I used to live in Taiwan, and there's a big saying when I was over there doing my thing.
oh, you were in Taiwan.
Yes, I used to live in Taiwan, probably before you were there, Uncle Dominic. But yeah, we had this thing called like no regrets. So then I came to learn, like, because you always make mistakes. You always do things you wish you could have done better, and if you could go back time, you would change it. So my thing was with regrets is the things that I regret are things that I don't learn from. If I make a mistake and I don't learn from it, I'm regretting it that then. So my mistakes, I turn them into from like stumbling blocks into stepping stones. But if I don't, then I regret not being able to progress and learn from it.
I like that when you say stumbling blocks into stepping stones. I like that.
Yeah, I think
But
it's
I
bad
feel
thing.
like sometimes the stepping stones are a little bit too high for me. Sometimes,
Yeah,
too
you
high
need
for my
to
throat.
might need to get a hammer and a chisel to break that stumbling block a little bit more, then make it smaller stepping stones. Yeah.
So that's a good metaphor. Yeah. Hammer and chisel. So what is that? What can we use as hammer and chisels?
In general, in life, general stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, oh, that's an awesome question. It depends on what happens because the way I also see it is like bad. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. You're single, you're married, you got kids, you don't have kids, you're working, you're studying, you're looking for it. You have lots of money, you don't have money. Bad stuff will happen to everyone. You don't always get to control that. Sometimes it is because of what we do. A lot of times it's not, but you do get to control how you react to that. So sometimes that hammer and chisel can just be having those tools there to be able to cope with the situation, knowing, okay, something bad has happened. Like, for example, my tire is just blown. Can I change my tire, or do I have roadside assist to be able to help me? And if not, do I have a friend? So looking at options, how we can help turn these negatives into positives. And also, have you heard that story about an old Chinese story? It's a bit famous. It's been around a bit. How you got this farmer, and a lot of good stuff happens and a lot of bad stuff happens. But then he's all like, "I don't know if that's good or not. I don't know if that's bad or not." And then something else happens. Have you heard that story, Uncle Dom?
Mm, maybe not.
Maybe not. All right,
Would you like to tell that story?
yeah, okay. I'll try not to butcher it. I already stopped up one reference, so I apologize for that. And yeah, if anyone watching wants to go look at it later, they'll probably see a better version of what I'm about to say anyway. But ultimately, have this one Chinese farmer long time ago, and one of his horses gets out and runs away, and then all the villagers come over and say, "Oh man, that's so bad. One of your horses go away. That's going to make it so hard for you to farm and do everything." He's like, "Is it bad? I don't know. We'll see what happens." And then later on, the horse comes back the next day, but has also got two other horses with him. And then the villagers come back and say, "Oh wow, you're so lucky. That's so awesome. You got an extra two horses." And he's like, "Is it good? I don't know. We'll see what happens." And then so then the next day, his son takes the horses to break him in to do some farming and to do some work. And then he falls down and he breaks his leg or breaks his back. And then all the villagers come in, "Oh no, that's so bad. Your son broke his back or broke his leg riding the horses. Oh no." And he's like, "Is it bad? I don't know. Is it good? I don't know. We'll find out." And then the next day, they get conscription to go to war from the government. But then his son can't go because he's got the broken leg and broken back. So then the village say, "Oh man, that's so good that your son can't go." And then he's like, "Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. We'll see what happens." So that's pretty much the moral is that stuff is always going to happen, and the majority of it is how we perceive it. Like there'll be good stuff happen, there'll be bad stuff happen, and I'm always like, be grateful when the good stuff happens. Recognize that as well, and then when something happens that we don't plan for, that we don't like, work with it, do what we need to do, go through the proper steps to like grieve, yes. If we need to get upset, yes, but then move on from that and learn from it as well, because we don't want to hold on to those negative and hateful emotions and feelings that is so easy to do.
Yeah, it's definitely holding on to negative. It breaks you down. It does to me as well. I get there's a lot of negativity around, and it breaks you down, and it keeps coming back up. It just pulls you back in. Sometimes you don't want that to happen, but it does, right?
Exactly. And I guess, we could have like a million different podcasts, and like we could probably talk about this for hours on end on like different strategies, like just off the top of my head very quickly, being grateful, being forgiving, looking for the blessings and objectives in your life as well, and setting goals, and then setting mini goals to get those goals, and then rewarding yourself when you accomplish a goal. There's lots of different strategies that can help get through those processes as well, and then move on and then learn from them.
Thank you for sharing that story. I got to look it up also. But it sounds like that farmer is kind of lazy, doesn't care about what's going on in life. I was like, oh, whatever happens, I don't care. I'm just gonna go
he,
on. But
he
in the
might
same way, if you look at it that way, it's also kind of good as well, because it makes you feel like uh you don't have to be too serious in life sometimes. Like, things happen. It has to happen. So you can't change it. You just have to, move on, but in the same ways, right?
yeah.
So yeah. All right, let's get on to the thing before we
Yeah,
get too
we're going to run
all right.
before you.
So the first point, right, of the 9 money and life lessons most people learn too late in life, and this is actually written by Morgan Housel. I hope I didn't say his name wrong, but he works for I think a few places, and he wrote this to his daughter, and I thought this is really cool, and this is good for discussion today, because mainly sometimes we as a parent, it's hard to talk to our kids, directly. They don't want to listen to you, or they talk back to you. And so I feel like sometimes letters like this, or things we leave behind, if we pass on in the future, I feel like this can help our children, right? Which is one of the reasons why I started my podcast as well, because I lost my dad about 8 years ago. So the only
Sorry.
memory of him is pictures. Well, I don't have many pictures of him, but I do have a few. I don't have any videos of him. I wish I did. So it's hard for me to remember him. I only remember some of his stuff that he said, or things that he left on his Facebook, that his messaged me before. So in a sense, that me doing this podcast is kind of like this father's letter to his son. And eventually, if I pass on, my children or my grandkids or whoever in my timeline of generations can see me, or see their dad or their grandfathers, what they have done, or maybe learn something. I hope one day, right?
Oh, that's awesome. That's beautifully said, actually. That's really inspiring,
Well,
actually.
that's what I hope. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but let's go to this guy's letter, right? All right, this first one. Don't underestimate the role of chance in life. Okay. It's easy to assume that wealth and poverty are caused by the choices we make, but it's even easier to underestimate the role of chance in life. The families, the values, the countries, and generations we're born into, as well as the people we happen to meet along the way, all play a bigger role in our outcomes than most people want to admit. While you should believe in the values and rewards of hard work, it's also important to understand that not all success is a result of hard work, and that not all poverty is due to laziness. Keep this in mind when forming opinions about others, including yourselves. Okay, so let's hear your opinion about this first, the very first one.
Oh, absolutely. And he's doing a good job. He's not downplaying hard work. Hard work is super important. You ask anyone in business, in professional sports, in any industry, hard work is super important. But what he's saying, don't judge people just because someone hasn't been as successful. It doesn't mean they haven't worked hard. Especially a lot of times it's just timing. I remember a case study in New Zealand. A New Zealand lady, she was selling. I can't remember what they're called. The things that go around the female body here.
Like waist belt, or corset.
Corset thing.
Corset.
Yeah, not my forte. Fashion is, sorry.
Why are you looking into a corset?
That was the business case study I was looking into.
Okay.
Or maybe I'll wear them one Friday night. I don't know, but no.
Oh no.
No. So what? Yeah. So she was selling them online for a little while, and as a side hustle more than anything. But then all of a sudden, Kim Kardashian wore the ones that she was able to sell, and then everyone pointed out, oh, I love that corset that Kim Kardashian's wearing. So then she sort of got suppliers of that particular corset and started promoting it and advertising it with eBay, whatever she was selling it on Marketplace, on Facebook, and it just skyrocketed. She became a millionaire because of that. So she didn't do anything. She didn't work any harder than what she would. It was just timing on that side. So sometimes that's what's happened when we're working hard and trying to save up our money. I know for myself, in my own self as well, when I've always tried to be a hard worker, let my not so much do the talking, play the game, but let my work speak for itself. And there's times I had to like look for jobs and get back into the workforce, and it wasn't happening. I was applying for many jobs and nothing was happening. And then I remember one time in one job I was in, and everyone knew that I was looking to take the next step, and they were really supportive. And then things were happening. I was getting interviews, and then but it wasn't going anywhere. So it's like getting hard, but you don't stop. And all of a sudden, one of my co-workers actually referred me to someone else, and then I got a call from them and said, "Oh, come in. Yeah, I got referred to you from this guy who used to work for us, and now he works for you, but he's referred us to you. Want to come work for us?" And I was like, "Okay, let's catch up and go." So, and I even said to them, "It's like, look, if I saw that job advertised on one of those job seeking websites, I may not have applied for it, but it's only because of those relationships. I didn't apply for that job that I was able to like get that interview and I end up getting that job. So yeah, a good example there of like for that one, that was more of a combination of just other people seeing my work ethic and then reference putting my name forward for a particular role.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it's important that that we do both, like, and he says it there, like, don't count out the other things and the other blessings that we have in our lives. And I think that's important as well. If we know networking is so important in most careers and most jobs. So yeah, and then just being grateful for it, and then using those to your advantage as well.
That is the thing that when we were young, we were taught that networking was important. But I feel like nowadays, younger generations, they don't feel like networking is important. I feel like it's already there. Facebook and everything's there. Like Instagram, social medias. It's so easy to connect, and so with that, I feel like they take that as a, how do we say, it's there, so they don't notice it. They don't notice how important that is sometimes. Like for older people like me, I'm always networking. I'm always meeting people, seeing new people, or talk to people. If I can I get a business card, which we don't usually use business card anymore, but sharing contacts with IG or Facebook or stuff like that. It gets you somewhere somehow. You never know when this will change your life. Like your friend over there, in New Zealand, you met the case that you learned, and she did the corset thing, not knowing that Kim Kardashian actually, picked the one that she bought and or whatever, and then it just blew up from there. Just
Yeah,
yeah, it never. We I guess we can say that we never know things gonna happen, right? So it's like take a chance in everything that we see, right?
exactly. And sorry to put a dampener on it, I've also known a lot of hardworking people that have started businesses and it hasn't worked out. And that isn't because, like you said, it's not because they were lazy. It's just timing. Whatever reason, people weren't interested in that particular product at that time or that service at that time. So yeah, you pick yourself up those stumbling blocks into stepping stones, like we said.
Well, yeah, it's like work hard, work smart, something like that. People say, I've started a few businesses as well, and
Hmm.
and so far most of them has failed. So I mean, I could give up, but I'm just waiting for another better time, better opportunity to start it up again.
Hmm.
But I don't discredit hard work. It's just sometimes being lazy is more fun than hard work. Sometimes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a story about I don't know if you know the parable where the farmer is working and then they see the kids friends go out and play. Hey, come on and play. I said, no, I gotta, do I work the farm or do I go with my friends? So there's choices to make, even though it's such a tiny choice, but it's a big influence in the future.
Absolutely.
If you stay and work in the farm, you get abundance of rice and whatever. But if you stop doing it and go and play, what's gonna happen? You're not gonna get rice or food to eat.
I think there's a point later on where that'll come full circle. Point seven, I believe. So, yeah.
All right, so let's go to the second one, right?
You
The
want me-
highest dividend money pays is the ability to control time. Um, Being able to do what you want, when you want, where you want, with who you want, for as long as you want, provides a lasting level of happiness that no amount of fancy stuff can ever offer. The thrill of having fancy stuff wears off quickly, but a job with flexible hours and a short commute will never get old. Having enough savings to give you time and options during an emergency will never get old. Being able to retire when you want to will never get old. Achieving independence is our ultimate goal in life, but independence isn't an all or nothing. Every dollar you save is like owning a slice of your future that might otherwise be managed by someone else based on their priorities, right? And so I think the key word here is controlling time, right? Um, how do you like you have a well? I'm gonna say this, but I think you are a father to a daughter, and you work hard to take care of your daughter, right?
I try my best. I do what any loving parent would do. Yeah.
So the time is way more important to you, correct?
Yeah, you definitely need that time to spend with her and doing the things that us as individuals like as well.
Okay, for example, today I took my kids out to play the UFO catcher thing. You guys,
No,
you know that it's very popular in Taiwan right now. The UFO catchers everywhere, and they have this place in near my place, and so I took my three kids there, and I gave them some money, and then they played it. Obviously, I told them don't spend too much on the same machine. Go around, and so we actually spent about 350 NT dollars. We got two soft toys and I think like six packet of chips or whatever, and my one of my sons says, "Is this worth it?" I was like, "Uh, technically, we say the stuff compared to the money, it's not worth it. But if we say the time we spend having fun, catching it, the joy that we get from it, even though it's just a short amount of happiness, but it's fun there. I think it's worth the $350. I mean,
mm.
that's what I believe, right? So, what about you? What do you think
I,
on your
I love. I think that's a great example, to be honest, Uncle Dominic. That's awesome, and I have something very, very similar. um, so I don't know, the arcades. We have something here called Time Zone in Australia.
right
That's where you
time
have
zone? I remember time zone.
Time Zone. Excellent, yeah, like the little arcade things. It's
I
still
usually have
around.
the card thing. I think I have the card somewhere around here as well.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I was in Taiwan, there were quite a few. I know a lot of stuff is done. You can buy PS5s and Xboxes and all like that. But anyway, so my daughter sometimes likes going there, so I'll take her there sometimes. We were there recently for my brother's birthday, actually,
Mhm.
and they have the ticket prizes. So you do a game, it'll give you
Mhm.
tickets, 40 tickets, 100 tickets, 1,000 tickets, whatever it is, and then you get exchange those tickets for prizes. And a lot of and me and my daughter were working it out how much money we spent on the games to get the tickets, and it compared to how much money it cost us if we just went into like the local shops to buy a candy bar. So it ended up being like at least 5 times more expensive to play the games and get it exchange the ticket what it would do just to go to like a Woolies or a Coles or a supermarket to buy it.
Right, yeah.
But going off what this is saying and what you're saying about the time the time we spent together, that quality time, and the fun we had playing those games together was worth more than what that 5 times was. So yeah, so sometimes you got to work out that that time is better that spent that way. And
Yeah.
I also love how it says about the savings. I think savings is super important. I think this is one thing that I've sort of lived by, and one thing that I'm grateful for my parents, because I grew up quite poor, and my dad especially taught me about budgeting and putting away savings. And I look at a lot of interviews with people that are well off, and they pretty much say, yeah, put money aside for savings, and not everyone can put away a lot of money or a percentage or something like that. So work out what you can, but generally if you can put away 10%, rather it be a percentage or a dollar amount, and then you never know when you might need that. Like you said, for the time, like something that happened to us about a year and a half ago. Actually, not long
Mm.
after we moved into this house, the hot water system stopped working, and happened in winter time. Brisbane is generally pretty nice, but still a little bit cold. So thankfully, because I've always lived by that rule of putting away some money, a percentage to savings, for these types of things, for going out, or if there's an emergency bill that pops up, because a hot water system costs $2,000, $3,000, something like that.
Gee.
Yeah, so it hurt, but if it
Wow.
wasn't having those savings, I would have had to be scrambling and then using more time to try to get money elsewhere and seeing what I could do, and or having cold showers for the next 3 months or something. So thankfully we didn't have to do that, and we had that there ready to go, which saved us a lot of time. And yes, I definitely recommend working out your budget, and working out what you're happy between you and your partner or husband or your family. What you're happy to do. Some people like to save as much as possible and they don't mind not going out, and some people love to go out. So say there's like a range between saving 10% and
Mm.
90% your disposable income. So it's just working out, okay, we want to go out so much, so we'll save 10%. Or it's like, we're okay not to go out, so we'll save 90%. Working out what works for you and your situation and what makes you happy. You still have to be happy. That's the most important part, right?
Yeah, like it says over here, it never gets old. All the things that we have learned before when we are young, we can still impart it on to the younger generations, and they should learn from it. I feel like some people sometimes feel like, oh, this is old stuff. Let's not think about it anymore. Let's start with something new. But I feel like still, it's the time that we spend on certain things. Sometimes. I had this saying last time that it's a terrible saying. Yeah, you live to work, you work to live. Did you get
Oh,
that?
yeah, live to work or work to live. Yeah, something like that.
So, uh, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I want your opinion on that.
Oh, well, the way I've been told that one was, and I guess everyone might interpret it differently, you either live to work or you work to live. So live to work or work to live. And living to work means you wake up in the morning to go do your job, to go do your career. You're very career driven. You want to prosper and you get promotions, make more money, all like that. Whereas working to live means more so I'm going to go to my job so I can go out on the weekend and go to parties, go out, have fun, blah, 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 all that stuff. So for me personally, I think there's a time and a place for each one. And it goes back to which one's more important for you in your individual situation or in your family situation. Do you want to go out and spend time with your family, and how much? Like, you want to spend 90% of that disposable income, or do you want to spend 10% or 20 or 30, whatever it is? So, work hard to get the means you need, and then enjoy it where you can. And sometimes it means I'm going to save that, or I'm going to look at investments, or I'm going to buy something for my kids, or buy something for myself, or buy something for my partner, etc., etc.
That's the thing comes to me as well, because I for the viewers out there, I'm a teacher, so I'm an educator, right? So it comes to me sometimes to think about the things I do for the students in the class. Like I heard teachers always say, "Oh, we don't get paid enough to do this." I feel like, why are you saying that? We're teachers. We should be imparting our experiences, whatever we learn to the children, so they can learn something from that. So that's what I think anyway. And so live to work and work to live has always been an interesting aspect for me, because sometimes you think of it that way. Yes, my whole life is I need to work to get money so I can have a life. If I don't have a life, then I can't really work. I need to be happy to work, work to be happy and to get, it's vice versa. I think it's a cycle somehow.
Yeah, I know for me previously, it used to be 100% live to work, and that can be very draining because you're always just thinking
It
about
is draining. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But then as I've gotten older and had my daughter, yeah, it's become more so, not more so, but more of a balance between the two, because I think it's still important to show that you are dedicated to your job.
It's
Whereas,
definitely important to balance most things in our life, really.
that,
Like you can't play games all day, and so I know people do, but
yeah,
no, yeah. All right, so let's try to go to our next one. All right, so change to this one better. All right, so don't count on getting spoiled. No one can grasp the value of a dollar without experiencing its scarcity. So while your mother and I will always do our best to support you, we're not going to spoil you. Learning that you can't have everything you want is the only way to understand needs versus desires. This in turn will teach you about budgeting, saving, valuing what you already have. Knowing how to be frugal without hurting you is an essential life skill that will come in handy during life's inevitable ups and downs. All right. I like this, but at the same time, I like getting spoiled. I mean, I wish I can get spoiled way more often, but unfortunately, life doesn't go that way. But uh, we do need to understand the value of money. It's not easy to get money, uh, and it's not easy to have the life supporting you if you don't have things that you're supposed to do. If you keep depending on someone else, all right? So that's how I feel. What about you?
yeah. As a parent, this one's really good because you always hear stories about spoiling your kids, and all the which pretty much shows that's not healthy for the kid growing up as well. And I've looked at a few interviews again of rich people and how they bring up their kids, and they say it. It's like, oh, I wish the ones who did spoil their kids, they give them everything. Oh, I wish I didn't. Or it's like, oh, at the time I was out of love. Like, it's still out of love. Like, they're not doing it with any ill intent, but
Mhm.
pretty much say, yeah, we shouldn't spoil. And there's this saying that goes around nearly every school here in Brisbane: you get what you get, and you don't get upset. So it pretty much just means whatever you get, be grateful for it. It goes back to being grateful for what you got. And if you're thirsty and you get a cup of water, awesome. Be grateful that you got a cup of water. Yeah, you may have wanted a frozen slushy or frozen Coke or something, but no, if you got a drink of water and you're thirsty, that's awesome. That's fulfilling your needs there as well.
Well, here's the thing for me as well, for getting spoiled, right? There are ways of saying that. So, for example, of course, if we spoil our kids by giving them whatever they want, in the case like my son, oh, I want a laptop. All right, you get a laptop. Oh, I want a computer. All right, you get a computer. And so, I'm considered like an Asian kind of style of thinking. Well,
Mm.
in a sense that I want my kids to succeed, so I will give them all kinds of resources they need to succeed. So in my case, if my kid wants to play drums or wants to learn something, um, I will try to find ways to get that money or whatever, so that to buy this equipments they need so they can achieve this. Right. What about your thinking
Yeah, I'm
on
actually very you. I often tell my daughter, if there's something she needs, whether it be for school, study, if there's extracurricular stuff, because she's been doing swimming, I'll pay for that. If there's anything that she wants to buy, like she's 12-year-old preteen, so she's getting into fashion a little bit with her school friends, I
that?
tell her, you'll need to save up yourself for that if you want to buy that, and budget and work out how you're going to afford that. If you want to talk to me about coming to help, and we've even talking about loans as well, borrowing money, and she earns money by doing her jobs at home, because she'll actually be able to start
Go
working.
to your house now and do your work. Do I get paid for that?
Yeah, she has her house jobs that she has to do. She's actually, well, in Queensland, she'll be legally allowed to work this year later on as well. So we've spoken about that if she wants to get a job straight away or wait for a little bit. But yeah, so things that she needs, I tell her I'll get for her. Just let me know, and we'll have a look together, see which one is the most value. And then anything she wants, all right, let's talk about that, and she can save up for that. She can work out how to budget to work out how she can save up to get the things that she wants as opposed to what she needs.
That's good. That's nice. It pretty much talks about things here: desires versus needs, right? Sometimes we don't really understand that. I mean, PS5 is not a need or desire; it's a need, right? You need a
Yeah,
PS5.
it's
But
obvious.
for some people, like it's hard to tell the difference between a PS5, or a new computer, or you know. But what if you need it to study? Yeah, I guess it's a different whole story, right?
Mm. And
All
that,
right, let's go to the next one.
yeah.
I like the next one. Success doesn't always come from big actions. Napoleon's definition of a genius is the person who can do the average thing when everyone else around him is losing his mind. Managing
Mm.
money is the same. You don't have to do amazing things to end up in good place over time. You just have to be consistently not screw up for long periods of time, avoiding catastrophic mistakes, the biggest of which is burying yourself in debt, is more powerful than any fancy financial tip. So this is the thing I'm gonna say out loud for everyone. I'm debt free. I don't owe anyone money. I do know this is a problem.
Mm.
Debts is a big problem. We tend to want something quicker or earlier in life, and then we end up having debts for it. But at the same time, it's helpful to have debts as well. If you have read Rich Dad and Poor Dad, right, the book, he benefits from being in debt. He
Mm.
found that being in debt actually helped him to gain more money, or not lose money. But at the same time, I feel like we shouldn't take that as a thing straight away. Say, okay, he says he's rich, he's a rich man, we should be in debt, I'm gonna go be in debt. I mean, that's a wrong mind side of thinking. So I feel like what it says here: be consistent in doing the things that you do, be success in that. I think it will be very successful in the future.
Yeah, and I think that with that poor dad, there is definitely cultural aspects that it's more garnered towards Western culture. And what he's getting at, I think, good debt, bad. So bad debt means go into debt for something, pretty much what you're saying there, Uncle Dominic, like something that's going to depreciate in value. So if you get borrow money, which a lot of people do for a car, that car's most of the time not going to go up in value. It's going to depreciate and go down. So really, you're borrowing money to spend more money, to lose money. Whereas something that's got like a house or education, you could say that's good debt. Because I had to get into, like, the Australian government has a scheme where you can borrow money to study, which is very helpful for me because I didn't have enough money at that time. Because I started studying just when I got back from Taiwan, or not long after. So I had no money at that time. I had to like get a job, start saving just to buy a computer and the car and everything else I needed to get around. So I think that good debt, as long as you manage it and know what you're doing and you have those goals, it's for a goal and a purpose, that can be beneficial. But the bad debt, getting the credit cards, or it's like, oh, I like that shiny new thing, oh, I want that PS5, or I want that Gucci bag, or whatever it is.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Like there are people who are like you, like, well, actually a lot of people who are like you who borrows money to go get their education done. I mean, it's a good thing, right? It's not a bad thing, but it's what comes after, the temptation that comes after. Like you get your first pay after you graduate from college. Oh, I should buy a PS5. Maybe I can buy PS5 instead of paying all of my debts first. And oh, look, brand new shoes. Oh, this small temptation comes in. It makes you feel like I should pause this for a while and buy this stuff, and then you gain more debts. That's what happens. I think that is a problem with habits. Like people need to control their urges, right? The urges. That's the word, urges. Sometimes you see something, you want it. Like I see a new computer one day, I'm like, I need a new computer. Do I though? I have my computer, it works, I do everything I need, but do I need a new computer? So things like that.
Oh, you're exactly right. And there's so much of that in this little talk as well, and something we're going to get to in a little bit. But yeah, it is so important to like keep. I guess we'll give a little preface now. Like have a budget and stick to it ultimately.
Well, is it the fifth one?
Well, yeah. Good segue. So
all right, let's go to the next one. Let's see. Yeah, it's like a budget. Yeah, live below your means. All right, you like this part? Let's get you to read this part.
I'll read this one. Yeah. And I'll preface it by saying this probably is one of my favorites in all of this. So live below your means. The ability to live with less is one of the most powerful financial levers because you'll have more control over it than things like your income or investment returns. The person who makes $50,000 per year but only needs $40,000 to be happy is richer than the person who makes $150,000 but needs $151,000 to be happy. The investor who earns a 5% return but has low expenses may be better off than the investor who earns 7% a year but needs every penny of it. How much you make doesn't determine how much you have, and how much you have doesn't determine how much you need. That's awesome. So there's a lot
to
break
understand too sometimes, right? It's like, oh, $40,000 to be happy, but someone who needs $151,000 to be happy. It's kind of hard to understand that sometimes for some people.
Yeah. So my favorite sport is MMA, mixed martial arts, and like I've watched a lot of interviews with the fighters, and they end up making the successful ones and the ones that make a lot of money. And one of the things I've heard quite a bit from a lot of them is it's funny how quickly the extraordinary becomes the ordinary. And by that they mean, like one guy who said it, his name's Forrest Griffin, and he used to be a police officer in the United States before he got famous and became a professional fighter. And before he got big famous and was on like 7-figure contract. I can't remember how much he was earning. I think it was like $35,000-$40,000 a year American. And so it's like living with, okay, we have cereal for breakfast. We got some sandwiches for lunch and just something basic for dinner. And then he goes staying in fancy hotels, getting nice cars, replacing them every year. And that just became normal. It didn't become the life of luxury. It just became the life of normal. They have all said that. And then a lot of the times these people that go from nothing to having a lot, they do say, oh, well, what's the point of buying it all? so what I got a car, it doesn't mean it hasn't changed me as a person, it hasn't changed my happiness or anything. It hasn't added to it. It's just having money means one less thing I need to worry about ultimately. So going back to living within your means here. So because I guess first of all, I'll say that because this is so transferable to so many aspects of our lives, like we're talking about the discipline just before, if you can set a budget and then stick to it, that's showing discipline, and then you'll be able to carry that off in work, in study, with your family, everything else as well, and goal setting. So if like, for example, if you work out your budget and you got, after you pay all your debt, all your bills, and put some money aside for savings, one of the earlier steps we talked about, and you got, we'll say something like $100 left over for your other expenses that you might come up, you might be like, all right, well, instead of buying the fancy milk or the fancy fruit, I'll get the more. Yeah. So yeah, I've got $100 a week to cover the extra costs, but I'm going to
we
make
should
it.
just drive a Toyota. Stop buying BMWs and stuff.
I definitely do not have a BMW. But I
Or
do not
Holdens, or Holdens. Holdens are pretty costly sometimes, you know.
I just got a little grease. I'm happy with that. It does a very good job. So
All right. Well, we have about 9 minutes left, so let's
rush through these
pick it up
here.
a little bit. It's so much fun talking about the other stuff earlier, but I do like this budget thing. But I like the parable, the idea of $40,000 to be happy. It's richer than a person who makes $150,000. It just, it's what we see as a need and means. That's what it is.
Can I just say, Uncle Dominic, last one. Just a strategy. Like, I know it's easy to say, yeah, it's better to be happy with 40,000 than unhappy with 151. One strategy is just to be grateful for when you do get stuff, and give yourself praise when you do accomplish these goals. When you stick to your budget, give yourself praise, give yourself a little reward, give yourself a pat on the back. It might just be playing a game. It might just be going to watch a movie or something like that. It doesn't have to be costly or cost anything. Sorry. And yeah, and just things you have, like if you're grateful for your little Mazda 3 and you're super happy that it gets you from A to B, you're not going to worry about having a BMW. But yeah, that's all.
But that is true. But I do want to one day drive a BMW, just for the sake of, I've driven a BMW, for one day, hopefully, if that ever happens, All right, let's go to number 6. It's okay to change your mind. All right, I like this one. It's okay to change your mind. This is about education, totally, right? Almost no one has their life figured out by the age of 18. So it's not the end of the world if you pick a major that you end up not enjoying, or get a degree in the field that you're not 100% passionate about, or work in a career and later decide you want to do something else. It's okay to admit your values and goals have evolved. Forgiving yourself or changing your mind is a superpower, especially when you're young. I like this, when you're young. I tell my students sometimes, think what you want to do in the future. Think about it now. It's okay to change it later, but at least think about it now. And when I was young, during their age, or let's say you're 12 years old, I already had an idea, like what I want to do in the future. Of course, it keeps changing, but I had an idea and I want to follow the idea. And as soon as I got 18, 19, I keep following my idea. And then I graduated. I graduated as a photographer. I was a designer in a field, designer field, and so I have all these assets, And then I came to Taiwan, and it changed. I couldn't do any of those because of the language barrier, and so I decided to switch it a little bit, and then eventually use the things that I learned and change it to English teaching, and it works. It does work. It's like, it feels like a whole different career. It does, but the things that I've learned in school actually works when I'm teaching as well. So it helps. And even now I'm back to teaching art again. I'm like, oh wow, it took a whole big range. It goes back again. And I feel like it's okay. Even I'm 40 something years old. It's okay to still change your mind, just as long as I put, bread on the table so my family can eat. But
Absolutely. I know we're struggling for time there, so I'll just share one little experience. This is from a family member of mine, and have kids, and kids are all grown up, but they've changed careers 3 times. So, and the first time, the first time he changed careers was when they already had, I think, 1 or 2 kids. So yeah, they did it 3 times, and one of them was a teacher as well, just like your Uncle Dom. Yeah, so it definitely can happen. Just talk if you're with a partner and family. Just assess your situation, talk about it, make sure everyone's happy, because then you can support each other. And yeah, and that's if that's what you're going to do to be happy, then go for it.
Yeah, I remember my oldest son. We started him with piano, and then he went from piano to violin,
Mm.
and then from violin to the flute, and then went back to piano, and then eventually, and then, I don't want to play anymore. I'm like, oh, that's money gone. But then, recently, this past year, he goes back to his piano and starts playing songs, and go all about without me asking him to do anything. I'm like, wow, what's going on? Oh my gosh. And he just, he starts recording, and he has his own Instagram on his music playing. I'm like, well, it's okay to change your mind from the beginning. Now you're doing something different. And I'm happy for him. I'm proud as a dad that sees that my son has picked up something that by himself without me asking him to go and do something. It's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a proud father moment right there, or parent moment in general. Yeah, when you see your kids, the fruits of your labor ultimately, so, and seeing them
Yeah.
develop a proper human being. So,
Well,
yeah.
the part that I want to mention as an Asian father is when he's like, stop playing. I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, and my other son as well. When he stopped playing his drum, I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
But
devastated,
then
right?
now he starts picking it up again. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a different feeling. The feeling is there, you know.
Yes, yeah. No, I totally get it. I love the Asian and Taiwanese and Chinese cultures. I really do. I try to.
Let's look at the seventh one. This is important. I feel like it's very important. Everything has a price. Okay. The price of a busy career is time away from friends and family. The price of long-term market returns is uncertainty and volatility. The price of spoiling kids is them living a sheltered life. Everything worthwhile comes with a price, and most of those prices are hidden. They're sometimes worth paying for, but you should never ignore their true cost. Once you accept this, you will start to view things like time, relationships, autonomy, creativity as currencies that are just as valuable as cash. So, here's it is everything is a price. Nothing is free. I'm gonna say nothing is free. There's always a catch somewhere. And sometimes I get scammed with this as well. Like I remember back this was like probably like 6 years ago or 7 years ago. This shop says, "Hey, we can give you a free iPad." I was like, "Wow, what? A free iPad? Really? Yeah, free iPad. You just got to sign this, sign this, sign this, sign this." And I'm like, "Okay, sign this, sign this, sign that." And then I had to pay a few $1,000s a month, monthly.
Mm.
Not a free iPad. I got fooled. I got tricked by it, and I ended up paying for over 11 months, and that's like way more than what's the iPad's worth. The value is there, so I'm like, oh, I'm a fool. You know,
No, it's
everything's a price.
free.
I used to work like more than 40 hours a week, trying to get money for the family. But it's what's good in that I get lots of money. But the bad thing is I lost my time with my family,
Mm.
right? And I spend there's one time I have less jobs, so I work less hours, spend more time with the family. But in return, what happens? I get less money for the family. So it's yeah, you gotta balance it, obviously, right? You gotta see things differently.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's what you're saying is exactly true. Like, okay, so you're always sacrificing something, and you got to work out what you're right now. I'm giving up. It's what's the time now? Nearly 11:50 p.m. I'm now sacrificing do this podcast with you, but I'm happy to do it. It's awesome. I think this is good for me, definitely, and hopefully some people get something out of it. I've definitely learned a lot just preparing for it as well.
And hopefully your daughter gets to watch this in the future and learn something about a dad, something she
But
doesn't
yeah,
know, right?
yeah, exactly. It'd be good if she does watch this in the future. Or like, and if you're like studying or got a work project coming up, it's like, oh, actually, I'm a bit tired. I might go play some PlayStation or go and watch some Netflix or go on Instagram for a little bit. It's like they're the costs we're giving to not do these other things.
Mm.
But then to take it a step further, sometimes if we're overly tired and trying to work, that can be a detriment. So sometimes taking a rest, taking a 10, 20-minute breather is more beneficial. So it's working out as well what's best at that time. Like, I'd love to spend all day with my daughter and play games and take her out and everything, but she has to go to school. I have to go to work. Otherwise, we don't have money to do that, just like you said.
Yes. Yes.
And she needs to learn and find her path as well. And as she grows up and becomes an adult, like, what does she want to do with her life? Does she said already a few different careers. She'd like to be a designer. She said she wants to be a doctor.
The
I'm
doctor. There we
like,
go.
I like that one. Yeah. She said psychologist. I love psychology. So that made me happy as well. And like a fashion designer as well. I was like, oh, if that's what you want to do, I'll support you. I have no idea.
My
I can't.
my friend in Malaysia right now, they're both designers. They're both designers. The, the daughter, the oldest daughter, decided she wants to be a doctor. I'm like, whoa, full blown designers, and now a doctor. That's like a whole, you know. I'm thinking about all the money that she'll be making in the future.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, my mind went there as well when my daughter said that. It's like, oh, yeah, cool, cool, cool. Good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so we talk about money and we feel happy when there's money involved. Okay, but here's the thing: money is not the greatest measure of success. Okay, Warren Buffett said, "True success in life is when the number of people you want to have love you actually do love you, and that love comes overwhelmingly from how you treat people rather than your level of net worth. Money won't provide the thing that you and almost everyone else want most. No amount of money can compensate for a lack of character, honesty, and genuine empathy towards others. This is the most important financial advice I can give you from Warren Buffett. Right? Uh, I feel like sometimes this is me thinking totally. I feel like when people has money, they can think about this. Like when I don't have money, I'm thinking about money, you know. And so I feel like maybe once I get money, like Warren Buffet, then obviously I will. Oh yeah, yeah, money's not important. Like that's how I feel sometimes.
Yeah.
What's your get on this?
Oh, I think, yeah, yeah, it's very easy to say something's not important when you have an endless supply of that thing. So, but if you like a lot of psychologists, if you ask them, changing subject, but it is relevant, what's in a relationship, what's the most important thing to work on? They generally say it's the most important thing. It's not that one thing is more important than the other. It's like the most important thing is whatever needs to be worked on at that time. If you need to work on communication, that's the most important thing. If you need to work on finances and budgeting, that's the most important thing. So, yeah. So if someone says, "Oh, money's not important," it's like, well, it's easy to say that when you have billions and billions of dollars. But I do like what he says in here. And it's sort of like what we said earlier, though, with when rich people say, "Oh, once I have that money and I buy lots of stuff, I don't really need it." I remember, like, I watched an interview with Mr. Beast, who's
Uh-huh.
like one of the biggest YouTube people out there at the moment. So, and he'll think like, "Oh, I bought a nice car and then it did nothing for me. So yeah, I just put all the money back into the business, and it's worth billions." He got offered like $1 billion, and he's like, "Nah, it's worth more than that." So, so that's not bad. He's done pretty well for himself. But again, like, it's not, having money isn't always the measurement of success. Being happy, like if you're working 20 hours a day, never seeing your family or your friends, is that really a successful life? Or is it like, I remember one of my first jobs I got back when I from Taiwan, when I returned to Australia, was in a chicken factory of all places,
Your
before
factory.
before I started uni. And so there's a few people, like young, like at the time I was young, who was just like waiting for uni to start. There's a few people that was their career, that was their job, and they were making like $50,000 a year, which
Mm,
is below the Australian average. But they were happy because it's like they weren't getting their joy and happiness and success from making tons of money and buying nice things. They were getting their joy and success from having a stable career and taking care of their family. And I thought, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome that, and you've got a supportive family for that as well. And I love the line how he says, like, honesty and genuine empathy towards others is
mm.
what's important. Like, because you see in the world right now, empathy is sort of not as common as what we would like it to be.
No,
Um,
you know.
uh, and like we have, tons of different ideologies and all like this, and that's great. Just understand other people are out there as well, and other people have needs and wants, and it's good to respect and care about them, even if it is different to our own. And someone's not a bad person because they believe or say or think differently to us.
That's definitely right. The world is changing. I mean,
Mm.
you know, uh, yeah. If you have the money to do things, then you can think about it. But sometimes it's not there, but obviously, um, you know, having a better character is actually I think is way more important. It is important, I think, building a character of yourself, a better person of yourself as you talk to friends, having lots of friends. I mean, real friends, right? People that actually love you. I have friends from when in elementary school, until now. I'm still in contact with some of those friends. I'm very happy for them for being a friend of mine. I feel like I found true friends. They're there still, so it's great. And so you never know any of this until the later one, right?
Absolutely, and it's interesting. Like again, this could be another topic, but in terms of happiness, overall happiness, like when you look at the scientific studies on it, a lot of the psychologists and psychiatrists have found that one of the biggest factors and indicators of happiness is the relationships of the people around you, having those positive
Yeah,
relationships.
I actually read this book. Um, Be Always Happy by
No, no,
Sandra Ooi. It's awesome. It talks about her relationship with her wife, is with her husband. Understanding the opposite person. It actually helps her to be happy, to be successful as well. And so I feel like, yeah, I should do that sometimes.
yeah,
Sometimes I did say sometimes, right? All
yeah. And with
right,
those
let's go to
relationships,
that.
friends as well, family. Yeah, it's not just like your husband or wife. But yeah, friends, family, all like that
Yeah. Mhm.
in general. But yes, sorry, we are almost out of time. Sorry, and
We gotta go to our last one now. Last one. All
you
right,
want
the last one.
to read this one, Uncle Dominic?
You want to read this one?
Sure, I'll read it. So,
All right.
all right, 9. Don't blindly accept any advice you're given. All the lessons here, including the last one, are things that most people learn too late in life, but feel free to reject them. Your world will be different from mine, just as mine is different from my parents. No one is exactly sorry, no one is exactly in the same, and no one has all the right answers. Never take anyone's advice without contextualizing it with your own values, goals, and circumstances. Your parents love you. We are so happy you're here. Please let us sleep.
Yeah, that's I didn't put that on there
I
because,
I read the full one.
but that's okay. But that's what it is, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like all the advices we give or take. Sometimes we we want people to understand our advice, but at the same time we want them to apply it and understand that it doesn't work for everyone. That's like an educator. The way I teach does not apply to all the different classes. It cannot be the same style I teach, even though I try to. But different classes that I teach needs different way of doing certain things. Do you get
Absolutely.
what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
I
Well, and
I teach this class this way. I cannot teach another class the same way because they're different.
oh, 100%. And people learn differently. And kudos to you, Uncle Dominic, for being a teacher and having to do that with like I don't know how many kids in your class, 30 kids at a time or whatever it is, and they
40.
all 40. Wow, yeah. And all those kids, and some of them will learn the same, and some will learn differently. Like for me, I know I'm a visual learner, and then by doing, I'll see something, and then I need to go do it, and that's how I learn. But not everyone's like that. So kudos to you to doing that. And even in this here, it says like, hey, don't take my word for it. Go do it yourself. It was Carl Jung, who was like one of the proteges, we'll say, to Sigmund Freud, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go experience everything." Now, however, Freud sort of disagreed, and they sort of had a bit of a barging conflict. But yeah, so he liked to go and experience it. So what I say to my daughter is, like when she asks me a question, I'll share my experience and my knowledge, and hey, here's the research that I've seen. But go study it yourself. Go research it yourself. See what you can find. Because it's very
Exactly.
it's very easy to go on the internet or on TikTok or whatever and see someone spouting out their opinion, but that doesn't mean that's correct or what is actually the scientific method used to
I've
determine.
seen so many TikTok videos about fixing your computer and do something to your computers by typing some notes or some programs, and I feel like I'm tempted to do them, but at the same time, I feel like if I do this, these people might make my computer go boom or something. I feel like some of them are just there to troll you. You don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. Am I going to be getting viruses and calling the computer tech guys in a sec?
I know it does happen. So yeah, for all of viewers out there today, and for everyone in the future, please, you get advice, listen to them, but don't blindly follow it. I mean, yeah, you have to think for yourself sometimes.
Exactly. And if someone asks you for advice, what I'll say is be grateful that they're asking you, but don't expect them to follow it. Just be grateful that they're asking for you.
Yes, that's the thing. Yeah, be, don't expect them to follow everything you're giving them.
Yeah. I've seen that happen from some people before. And it's just like, hey, just be grateful that they're asking. That's awesome. They're asking you. Doesn't mean they have to follow it. Oh, I'll say one thing quickly on that.
Yeah.
On the whole, there was something coming up I can't even remember what it was, but something was coming up, and so I have two older sisters. I went to both of them and asked them. I told them what the situation was, and I asked them what they thought, and they both gave me honest and heartfelt advice that they thought was best for me. And their advice was 180-degree difference, completely different. So I found that very interesting. Like, see, I can't even remember what the advice was. I can't remember what it was, but I still remember that one sister said to do left or right, and the other one said to do the other thing. So there you go. So yeah, so it happens sometimes, but they both wanted the best.
Who did you listen to?
I can't. Oh, I took both the advice, and I kept. Yeah, it's not. I didn't make the decision.
Don't listen to both of them. Go this way.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
No, I took the. I can't even remember which one, but I didn't determine my ultimate decision based on either one of their advice. But I took that into consideration, though.
Well, just like you said, like we should be grateful that actually someone gave us advice when we asked for it. There are times we ask for advice, we don't even get them. People don't give you advice, but
Exactly.
it's great. We should be grateful. All right, so let's wrap it up. I have one more last slide. And just wrap it. Oh, it's too small. I can't see it. Oh no, mistake. Okay, that's okay. It's all wrapping up all the 9 of them. So let's go through all of them one last time. Read it out to all the audience out there. First one: don't underestimate the role of chance in life. The highest dividend money pays is the ability to control time. Don't count on getting spoiled. Success doesn't always come from big actions. Live below your means. It's okay to change your mind. Everything has a price. Uh, Money is not the greatest measure of success. Don't blindly accept any advice you have given. That's it. Thank you for everyone for coming today, and I hope you enjoy the show with Uncle Shannon. All right. So
Thank you.
hopefully see you guys again in the future. Please like and subscribe and share this video so that we can get more viewers and we can keep doing things that can make everyone happy and learn. So thank you for everyone coming. Goodbye.
Thank you, Dominic. Bye, everyone.
Bye.